Welcome to SoCal Tech Interviews, where we talk to the entrepreneurs, investors, and others in Southern California's high-tech industry. Today, we talk with Alice Cheng, an associate at Upfront Ventures. I'm Ben Kuo, founder and editor of SoCalTech.com.
Hi, my name's Alice, and I'm an associate at Upfront Ventures, where I focus on our bio and deep tech portfolio.
And how long have you been at Upfront?
I started at Upfront in December of last year, and I moved down from the Bay Area to LA.
And talk about the investments you're interested in. What are you interested in investing in?
Sure. So my background's in biomedical engineering, and so I'm really interested in investing at the intersection of technology and biology. So that covers everything from, therapeutics to devices, to software, but kind of, where things start merging together on either side.
And what is your background and what were you doing in the Bay Area?
Sure. So I actually got my PhD at Georgia Tech in biomedical engineering, and then moved up to the Bay Area where I was at BCG, Boston Consulting Group, and I worked there in half biopharma and half enterprise technology before moving down here.
So it's interesting to find someone with a deep technical background in a PhD going to venture capital. How did you make that transition, and why did you decide to do that?
Sure. So I had wanted to be in venture capital for a long time, probably since grad school, but I was in Atlanta, which is, a pretty good tech ecosystem, but it's not Silicon Valley, and so I wanted to build up some business experience, and so that's why I headed out to San Francisco, and I was doing consulting there, and I was doing it more on the tech side, and a little bit in biopharma, but I really wanted to get back to the science and not necessarily bench research, but now I still read papers. It's more fun, if that makes sense, to read papers now, but I just think it's a cool way of building the future, and you also get to learn about completely different new things all the time, which I love. And I'm kind of ADD, so I kind of like skipping around, learning different things and meeting different people. So that's my interest in venture.
Now, I think you're aware of all the issues in the venture capital industry of trying to get women involved. What
Sure.
worked for you to get in the door? Because I know a lot of people go, how do I get in if no one's hiring?
Yeah, so it's tough. I actually quit my job and did 5 months full-time search, or 4 to 5 months full-time search for a job, and I specifically was targeting venture capital. So I think at the beginning it was more like figuring out, do I actually want to be in this industry versus do I want to do BD or something else kind of on the commercial side in science. But toward the end of it, it's kind of like a gut feeling, you go through these interviews and at the end you're like, I don't think I'd be happy here. And so I just went full force on the venture side. And I was in the Bay Area. I didn't expect to be moving down to LA, but Upfront was such a great fund, and I loved everybody there, and I loved my experience there. And so I decided to join. In terms of getting in, I think it's so hard, and I don't think I did a bunch of interviews when I started my job search, and I talked to everybody, but it's really like a timing thing. Most venture firms are small, and they hire once a year, maybe once every 2 years, and so you kind of just have to find the right cycle. And I actually used my my professional network, so that's how I got connected to Kevin, who also worked at BCG, so that was really helpful. But yeah, I don't know if there's like a formula for it, and I think sometimes it could take like up to a year or more, and I've talked to people where it's taken them several years to get in.
So what's the best way for founders to connect with you?
So I'm out at a lot of events, especially in the SoCal area. Sometimes I go up to the Bay Area. I think, getting for any investor, understanding what their background is and what their interests are is really helpful, and really just developing a relationship. I'm pretty open to cold emails or grabbing coffee, but I kind of have to feel like I'm building a friendship or at least a relationship with the person, and not that it's just a business transaction.
What is the ideal founder for you as you look at investments? So what are you looking for?
What am I looking for in a founder? Someone who is really passionate and has a vision about what they want to build, who also marries that with some sort of technical expertise. So whether it's they've had the background in the specific technology that they're building, or maybe they're the ones that built it in grad school and they want to take it forward. And if not, that they know where the gaps are in their knowledge, that they can fill their team with somebody who has that technical knowledge. And especially as you think toward the therapeutic side, bringing in clinical advisors and people who are going to support on and have more knowledge around the clinical trial, more than just the scientific bench aspect of it, is helpful too.
Now, I'm sure you're aware with technical founders, especially PhDs, it's very different than running a company. What advice would you give those entrepreneurs?
So I think there's different founder roles, and so you don't necessarily have to be the CEO, although that's certainly fine if you do. But if you're a PhD founder, you could stay on and be the CSO or the COO or kind of in a different capacity and still contribute equally to the company and the growth of the company. And I think there's really a lot of value in having a scientific person there or a technical person there on the executive team. So if you do want to be in the CEO role, just making sure that you're equipped. The biggest challenge of at least an early stage startup is, especially if you're on the technical side, you have the tech, but it's really fundraising. So kind of understanding how to network and not being afraid to put yourself out there. And that's a skill that's hard to teach and hard to learn, but something you have to just get better at with practice.